Thanks, Bernd. So a little bit about myself. I'm Jasper. I was a business developer at VISCON, but as of this year, I'm the commercial manager for the insect team within VISCON. At first, we worked on some projects as VISCON in the insect market, and well, as of recently, the interest is so big and there is so much to do. We decided let's get some full attention on this market and have a dedicated team as well to work on this market. So a little bit about the company. So I work at VISCON. We do basically factory automation in agri-food markets. So what does this mean? Well, we do a lot of automation of processes in, for example, the greenhouse industry. In the Netherlands, we have a major cluster of greenhouses. So this is basically where our company originated from. And from that onwards, we started to do also automation processes in other markets, all related to, let's say, agri-food business. So at the moment, for example, next to insect farming, we're also heavily involved in vertical farming. So growing crops vertically in deserts, for example. So it's all, we're in a nice spot of the market, indoor farming solutions, food storage solutions in warehouses, that kind of stuff. And around 2014, we started in the insect industry when Protex approached us to start cooperating with them on their first demo, on their first pilot plant. So we already started automating that in 2015, and then in 2018 we worked also on the industrial side of theirs, and since then we've done some other projects as well in this insect space, and we really see the interest, the amount of companies active increasing by the month. So that's good news for us and for the industry. So on the next slide, I will tell you a bit more on why automation of farms is interesting. And I want to stress that we focus on the logistics side of the processes. So you have some building blocks in the farms. Like today, we discuss climate systems, feeding systems, processing systems. We focus basically on connecting all these processes by means of crate handling and pallet handling logistics. And obviously, one of the reasons then to ask yourself is, why would you do that automatically? Well, basically, if you go to large scale, it basically becomes inevitable to do such processes by hand. But obviously, there's also on a smaller scale, it already becomes interesting. And I want to stress, next to achieving bigger scale facilities, it's also interesting from a matter of plant control. Automating your processes next to it allowing you to increase your scale of your facility with less people involved, to do that fully automatically. It also helps you to increase your plant control. Like was stated in the beginning, you want to have a consistent quality, a consistent output. And when you let machines basically do the work, you have just less opportunity for risks to emerge, for faults to emerge. And you can also, let's say, calculate how much you will produce on a given day compared to when you would have human involvement, which is just a little less calculated, to be honest. So in that sense, it gives you plant control. It also gives you the opportunity to control your plant, to control your operations from behind your desk. You can basically organize your production orders for a certain day in the morning, for example, and then just track how the factory is doing all the work. It saves you a lot in management effort and gives some peace of mind. So what do we do in our portfolio? as I mentioned before, we focus on crate and pallet handling. We also, from our warehouse portfolio, basically we offer single and multi-level storage solutions. To the right, you see a shuttle-based system that we apply in this industry, but we can also introduce, for example, AGVs, which are basically forklifts without a person on top of it. On top of that, we also offer cleaning solutions for crates. What we've experienced in many of the indoor farming markets that we're active in, and also in the insect industry, is that you want to clean your crate each cycle that you've used it. So after harvesting, we directly include a crate cleaning solution, and after that, the crate can be filled again with feed and with insects before it moves into the storage area. So we do that fully in line, integrate that fully in line. We have our own line of machines for that. And when you're talking about reproduction, you also have grids that you use in that sense. We also have washing solutions for grids. So all in all, these kind of processes can be automated as well. And on top of that, we offer frass and larvae conveying solutions, and we can also integrate various sieving technology. So you can, in the end, we can deliver a complete, let's say, logistics solution towards the processing area, towards the feeding area, feeding stations, towards the storage areas with the climate systems. And in order to do that, we have obviously a software team to make sure everything talks to each other, everything connects to each other, and all the data can be provided to the central computers of the factory. So we tend to see in insect farms, this is a BSF farm then, that you underestimate, you make a distinction between a nursery phase and a rearing phase. We basically can do all the logistics. In that sense, we couple to a feeding system. So we bring a crate underneath a feeding system in a nursery area to a larvae dosing system, and then basically stack the crates on top of each other and move them automatically to the storage area where the climatization is taking place. And then after a few days, like Lars also explained in his graph, you go towards the next phase where you either tip the content of that crate, or whether you have a different crate setup, we can somehow in a different way make sure that content is moving towards the next phase. And then after each cycle, obviously we do the harvesting, so we can tip the crates on top of bulk conveying system towards sievers and towards the processing areas basically, and then the flow back of crates through the crate washer. So you can really make this let's say a loop of crates going through your factory without basically needing any people to interfere with that process. Just people on top who control the process. What we often do, well, always do when we talk to clients in the area, is to identify their needs, obviously, and do a design of such a layout based on the requirements of the client. So does the client already have a building? Is it a brownfield location, or can we help the client to basically make the layout for their facility and get some input for their building design. So eventually we designed the system, we designed the complete layout for the logistics system. We also build machines ourselves, and then we integrate all the solutions with each other. And as mentioned before, we can also integrate them with various different suppliers. So I want to give you some input from what we experience and some takeaways for you to take with you when you start developing your plant or in the middle of your thinking process. So one of the first things, obviously, that matters to us is whether you grow mealworms or whether you grow BSFs. So we supply solutions for both. And for example, one of the major differences between the two is for mealworms, given the way longer life cycle, you have a lot more storage in your facilities. So we tend to see that for mealworms, you often go vertical. So you store your crates onto multiple layers, which would also then require a sort of, let's say, a vertical storage system when you would go for larger scale facilities. And another thing that is interesting from the perspective of mealworms is that you can basically automate your entire reproduction cycle as well, as the beetles don't fly away, so they can remain within that crate, and we can do some smart stuff to make sure we automate that process as well. That's an interesting one. What also matters, obviously, is the scale of your facility. So typically we can handle around, like, let's say 400 to 500 crates per hour over one line, and depending on your crate that you're using and the type of the number of insects you put into that you aim to harvest in that crate, you can calculate what you can do in that sense. So if clients have a certain objective in terms of their production, we start with, let's say, a standard line, make sure it connects with a feeding system, for example. So we calculate how many crates we can run through the system per hour, and then based on the requirements, we add multiple lines next to each other, for example, to reach that capacity. What we also see in the market is still a lot of variety in terms of how companies grow their insects. So the number of refeeds, for example, operating hours, all that kind of stuff impacts the amount of handling going on in your facility. So these are the things that we need to talk about to make sure your factory will be able to reach your goals. And also when it comes to automation, the cost of labor obviously is important. So we help you create your business case in that sense and make sure you make the right decisions. And one other thing I want to stress is the crates. So if you go towards automation, you need to take into account that your crate is strong enough for automation machinery. So the design of your crate is always something that you need to that needs to be checked by your automation partner, because it has to be strong enough to withstand machinery. So this is a key takeaway I think you should take with you. So then something on some tips for growing your farm. So when you would have a small operation where it's like 1 ton of production per day, I would say go with a robot that can do multiple things at the same time. So either it can do the stacking, the destacking of crates, put the crate towards a feeding system, do the tipping of the crate. When you have low capacities going on, I would advise to do that. And once your capacity increases, you can use robots, for example, to still do the destacking and the tipping, but then add other machinery to do some other stuff. For example, bringing the crate towards the feeding system and then stacking the crates on top of each other. And I would say in a small situation, like was stated before, try to keep it simple, single level storage, use your manual forklift, and no need to automate that if it's not the volume to invest in some automation there. So once you go to larger scale facilities, once you go towards the scale of, let's say, 10 tons of larvae, wet larvae per day, but already at 5 tons per day as well, I would say, yeah, then it becomes interesting to start looking at, especially the rearing side of things, to do that fully automatically, but also obviously integrating the nursery area in that automation, yeah, becomes more relevant the larger you get. And I would say, yeah, and then it's just from an automation perspective, once you deploy a line, it has a certain capacity that you can run over such a line. So it would be a shame if you have a system operating that you only utilize it for like 30% or so. So I would always advise to look at, from a technology perspective, what is possible, and then play with that in terms of setting your goals, in terms of how much you want to produce. So it's really a conversation that you can have with a company like us and with other companies to define, okay, what is the basic set of technology that we can use, and how much can I grow with this to make it as smart as possible in terms of investing.
Jasper, we are running right out of time. We need to speed up. Sorry.
This was my last sentence that I wanted to share with you guys. The slide is still not on the deck, yeah. But well, like I said before, when you go to large-scale facilities, I would also start to do the transport of crates of pallets automatically. So either use shuttle-based systems or AGVs for that. And yeah, like I mentioned before, making sure all that information is integrated, all that data is integrated, which also allows you to track and trace of your entire plant. That's extremely important if you want to go towards big, major clients who want to have predictive output, want to have traceability of your output, and want to have a given production level every day. Then software becomes a big part of your solution as well. So let me leave it with that then, Bernd. Thanks for the warning. And if you guys want to talk further on this topic, do not hesitate to come back to me.